Hello everyone, my name is Jenna Smers, and the book that I read for this week is Midsummer's Mayhem by Rajani LaRocca. Now this book first caught my eye when I was browsing in the bookstore and noticed the gorgeously illustrated cover. And then I read the back and I was sold. 11-year-old Mimi comes from a large Indian American family, and being the youngest, constantly finds herself overshadowed by her older siblings' accomplishments. When a new bakery comes to town and announces a baking competition for kids, along with the opportunity to meet Mimi's pastry chef idol, she leaps at the chance. As she's trying to figure out what to make, though, she starts to hear some oddly familiar music coming from the woods, and when she follows it, ends up finding a golden-eyed boy who's just as passionate about baking as she is. Together, the two use herbs and ingredients found in the woods to bake up delectable delights. But that's when things start to get strange. Mimi's food critic dad suddenly can't taste the difference between disgusting and delicious, and her older siblings start acting even more weird than usual. Now, Mimi not only has to bake up the perfect dessert for the competition, she also needs to figure out what's wrong with her family. Luckily, she has a new friend to help. This middle-grade mashup of Midsummer Night's Dream and the Great British Baking Show is just utterly delightful. It's a very feel-good story, filled with magic and mayhem, and has a strong emphasis on family and working hard at the things you're passionate about. This is also an own voices story with some great diverse representation, and this is especially highlighted in the foods made throughout the book. My only recommendation would be possibly don't read this story when you're hungry, or do, and use the ingredients found in the back of the book to make your own tasty treats. I did. Now I'm going to read a segment from the earlier parts of the book. "Your face is quite a sight," the waitress said, twisting her hands. "It's awful, am I right?" I looked at her. She seemed barely older than Rhea, with big blue eyes and a small pink flower pinned to her hair. "I'm sorry," I said. "It's a tad dry, but let me try the other one." I quickly unpeeled the pretty purple cupcake and took a bite, which I regretted immediately. This cake was too moist, soggy and falling apart, like someone had soaked it in juice. The frosting, lovely as it looked, tasted like a sugary version of the papier-mâché paste that Jules had once tricked me into tasting when I was 6, telling me that it was mashed potatoes. This time I couldn't hide how disgusting it was and had to spit it out. "Is this supposed to be a grape cupcake?" "That's right. Oh dear, she'll be so angry now." The waitress gave me a sheepish look. "It's not for lack of trying, but know-how." "You bake these?" "Yes, and no one likes them, don't you see? The owner is so very cross with me." It seemed unfair to put this girl in charge and then be angry with her, since it was obvious she knew nothing about baking. "Isn't there anyone who can help you?" She flared her nostrils. "The one who knows the most won't lift a hand. We struggle every day, you understand?" Wait a second, was she rhyming? "But we try, and though we all must play the part," she leaned towards me and whispered, "we have no clue of how to even start." "Why don't you get a good book on baking? I can recommend a few I love," I said. "Perhaps." She leaned towards me again. "You seem to know an awful lot. Could you perchance assist us with our plot?" "But I'm not—" "Oh, that would be so lovely. You're a dear. I'll go speak with the owner. Just wait here." She started towards the counter. "But—" She looked back at me pathetically. "Please tell me that you'll help us. 'Twould be awesome." I sighed. "What's your name?" "Peas Blossom." She dipped a small curtsy. What kind of parents saddled their kid with that name? I held out my hand. "I'm Mimi. I don't know if I can help, but I'll try." Peas Blossom took my hand and kissed it. She hurried to the back of the store, while I rubbed my skin in confusion. A few minutes later, Peas Blossom reappeared and led me into a small office at the back of the cafe. I found myself standing before a beautiful young woman with a river of dark hair. She turned the pages of a book while seated on a velvet chair behind a worn wooden desk. A bowl of pink roses sat on the desk and filled the small space with a heady, sweet scent. And in the spiced Indian air, by night full often hath she gossip by my side, the woman said in a low, melodious voice, like a perfectly played oboe. Excuse me? Peace Blossom said you wanted to talk to me. The woman closed the book gently and looked at me with bright green eyes that matched the flowing dress she was wearing. I'm Mrs. T, the owner of the While Away. I hear you're quite the baking master. And that's where we're going to leave it. If you want to find out more, you'll have to read it for yourselves. Thanks for listening. Also, these are delicious.